What's up, you guys? James Strickland here. Welcome to week 55 on my road to 700 pounds on bench press. So this week is a deload week, so nothing really exciting. If you've been paying attention to the recaps, you know that last week I was supposed to work up to a nice heavy set and just didn't quite get 585, just didn't feel right. And basically I've been just kind of nursing a little bit of tendonitis lately and just kind of just feeling, kind of tired, I guess is the best way to put it. Energetic, but muscularly and physically just kind of beat down in the gym. So it's definitely time for a deload. So let's go ahead and jump into this week's recap. This week didn't go super heavy. Naturally, that's what a deload is. And in case you don't know, a deload is basically a time in your training that you take a little bit of time off or time away from the heavy weight, and it could be just a week, it could be a month. I mean, literally, it could be whatever you want it to be. In my training, in particular, is every fourth week. So I do 3 heavy weeks or 3 heavier-ish weeks, depending on what time of the season is. That might be 600 pounds plus on bench or whatever it is on squat deadlift. Or that might be 455 and then kind of deloading out of that and going down in the 300s. But basically, it's taken a good 100 to 200 pounds off of my main sets. My accessory work is definitely cut back. Maybe not all the way, where we're going back to like really super easy sets, because I still want to work out. But it definitely is. I can get in and out of the gym in probably less than an hour on most deload days. But that fourth week I use to make sure that I'm still eating well, I'm still sleeping well. Everything outside the gym I try to take care of because I got a little more time. But I try to keep everything pretty consistent during those deload weeks. The one thing that I definitely do not do on deload weeks is take a pre-workout. And so that will allow my body to kind of acclimate itself back to the norm without having so much caffeine pumping through my system for all my workouts 4 times a week on those 3 heavy weeks. The week that I take off on a deload week, I do not take any type of pre-workout, and I try not to drink too many caffeinated drinks or coffee and things like that because I don't want to desensitize myself for that week with caffeine. So that way, when I come back into the gym that next week for a heavy week, when I do take a pre-workout, it's working just as well as it did the first time I ever took it. That if you need to take and this is kind of a side issue, but if you start getting to the point to where you're having to take extra scoops of your pre-workout in order to get the same effect, then you're definitely needing to back off. And if you take a deload week, that's a perfect week to back off. I normally take 1 scoop of Rage and 1 scoop of Fury, both from Animal Pack. Each workout that I have during the 3 heavy weeks, so that's 4 times a week, so that's 12 workouts. And then on that deload week, like this week, I don't take any pre-workout whatsoever, but I still hit the gym the same number of times. But like I said, this week is not going to be super heavy or super exciting, but it's part of my training. I believe it should be part of everybody's training at some point in time. It may not necessarily be every 4th week, but definitely some point in your training when you're starting to feel a little banged up, that's your body's way of saying, hey, you need to take a break. The best advice that I can give you guys, and this goes for new lifters, people who have literally just gone to the gym for the first time or maybe never, and experienced lifters, world record holders, you name it, everybody needs to take a deload at some point in time in their training. When that is really up to you. If you have a coach or a program, hopefully that's kind of built into it. If it's not, the best way to tell if you need a deload is obviously you start feeling banged up. That's too late. And it's kind of too late to start resting at that point because you already have a workout that you're trying to get done. I typically would find myself getting to the point to where physically I needed to have a break every 4th week. So naturally I started planning ahead for the next time I would need it, would be 4 weeks from now. And that worked out very well. It's going to take some time. You're not going to figure it out the first time typically. You may have once every 8 weeks, once every 10 weeks, once every other week, you name it. There's a whole different way to do it. You don't have to do 7-day splits. A lot of guys typically start their workouts over when it comes down to like every Sunday they do a bench day or every Monday they do a bench day. Well, if you need more rest than that, do your bench day staggered where you do maybe bench Monday 1 week and then bench Tuesday the next week, bench Wednesday the next week. I'm actually starting to do that myself right now, kind of taking a little dose of my own medicine. But without further ado, let's jump into the recap for this week. Let's see where we got. Day 1, heavy bench and upper accessories. Hanging out in Katy, Texas here at Dynamic Fitness. Pretty decent commercial gym. Got everything I need, especially on a deload week. So just showing you my last warm-up here, or last couple warm-ups. 315 on the bar. And actually, it feels a lot heavier than it looks. That just goes to show that I'm pretty banged up. Just definitely need to loosen up, let the weight come off the bar a little bit. This is going to be my last warm-up set here of 4 plates, 405. The working set for today calls for 500 for 3 sets of 3. Now this is not a super laid-back deload like you guys have probably seen me do in the past, where I go from maybe let's say in the 600s, and then we go down to 455 3x3. I wanted to keep things a little heavy and just to kind of test the waters, but I wanted to see where I'm at, really. I didn't want to lose too much here. And so first set, actually felt pretty fast. So I'm actually happy with that. It's weird because 500 last week, even during warm-ups, just didn't feel as good. So going here, second set, slowing things down just a little bit to really work the muscle, work the weight. And third set. Feeling pretty good. All right, moving on to some bent over rows. Kind of a pseudo Pendlay row, not quite in a Pendlay status, but we'll just call them barbell rows. 225 here. Just getting some back work in. Now, I've obviously, this is a deload. Keep in mind, I can do a lot more weight than this, but just wanting to relax the upper body and keep things light. Some floor flies here, 45 pounds each hand. Compared to previous weeks, these would have been 55 to 65 pounds in each hand, so definitely knocking some weight off here. Chest is feeling a little bit banged up, so taking these easy. Don't want to stretch too much here, as far as don't want to tax the chest too much. But even when I'm feeling 100%, my deloads typically feel like crap. Let's face it. If your deloads feel amazing, you're probably going way too light on them. You don't want to just bottom out in your deload and take the week off. And there's a reason it's called a deload and not rest week. You definitely want to work out. This was about 60 pounds or 75 pounds or so here on this one. And my triceps were fine, but my elbows were just aching. So I definitely have some tendonitis that I'm trying to get rid of. That's tough because the only way to get rid of tendonitis is to back off completely and let it heal. Sometimes that's not an option, but it's just keeping it at bay sometimes. But sometimes I like to go without the elbow sleeves just to stay a little bit cooler in the gym. A little bit different angle here, stretching things out. Another thing to focus on during your deloads is technique and form. Just because the weight's light, you don't want to just sling it around and be lackadaisy with it. You really want to concentrate on the mind-muscle connection. You really should be doing that no matter what the weight is. But during a deload, it is very easy to let your mind wander and not really think that you're having to focus or be careful with the weight. Treat it like every other time you're doing with the weight, because literally you're practicing what you're going to be doing in a meet. All right, so this is my day 2. Decided to do my squats here, showing you guys what I'm listening to. I like a little Fire from the Gods. I got a new CD coming out. Working on some lower body. Lower body is not beat up at all, really. It doesn't have anything aching or any pains. So I'm not quite deloading as much on the lower body as far as the weight taken off the bar. Of course, we're not going super heavy on it either. A little bit of cardio here. Definitely out of breath. So I was going for 10, and I counted 10 in my head, but that was 9 there with 515. That is pretty well. That is definitely a PR, but not super heavy. Obviously, feeling a little lightheaded there, but you know, wanted to kind of test the legs a little bit. Not super heavy, like I said, but during a deload for bench, getting a little antsy, because I want to go heavy, but I want to be smart on upper body. But legs are treating me nice, so I'm gonna push them just a little bit, and have some fun with them. Day 3 on my shoulder day. This is my rear delt flies. Really nice and easy and light. These I didn't really feel these much. This is only about 100 pounds here. Done the whole stack and then some. I mean, 300 plus pounds on these before, just to give you a little bit of reference point on the difference in weight for a deload. Some lateral raises here on a cable. This is 20 pounds. This actually is not heavy at all. My shoulder rotator cuff and my elbows are a little bit sore, obviously from the tendonitis. So it feels kind of good to get this motion, but it definitely is achy towards the end. One thing to keep in mind when you're doing these is you don't want to stiff arm it, but you definitely want to stay as straight as you can, so you're not using muscles that you're not intending to use. Moving on to some T3 raises, definitely a great shoulder exercise, rotator cuff accessory to keep those rotator cuffs happy. These actually feel pretty good and therapeutic on a sore or inflamed rotator cuff. It's when you're, well, at least for me, it's when you're going in a complete circle that typically will irritate it more. Some dumbbell bench here. This definitely was moving quickly, but definitely I felt every bit of it. Sleeves, I got my sleeves on here just to give myself a little relief with the elbow tendonitis, which if you have elbow tendonitis, sleeves are a great way to keep your joints warm. Definitely during any kind of pushing or pulling movements, any kind of lateral movements that's an irritant. If you're having to pick up things from an angle that is stressful to that elbow joint, sleeves will definitely keep that joint warm. It's not going to help you get rid of tendonitis, I don't necessarily think. I think most of the time you need to back off the weight, but it's definitely a good thing to have. Good piece of gear to have in your bag, not only just to keep you healthy through workouts, but in case you start getting a little flare up, you can put those on and keep things warm. Fully extended dumbbell pullovers here, definitely pulling the pec muscles and stretching those out, keep them healthy. That tricep superset, if you will, here. Opted for a few sets here with the straight bar, a little bit more of a V-bar, just to, once again, be able to work the triceps, but not get too much into the elbows. Working on some deadlifts here. This is basically hook grip, 315. Haven't done any deadlifts really since the meet, so definitely excited to see kind of if I can start working on hook grip. Something I've always kind of thought about doing. Most I've ever hook gripped in the past is 500. So we're going to go for 4 plates here, see how this feels. Definitely don't want to stress anything out, especially with the lat tear that I had at the meet. Definitely want things to heal up and not push it too far. So if I start to feel that at all, shutting it down. .405 hook grip, successful. I'm happy with that. And that is it for the recap. So once again, I want to stress that I would definitely encourage each and every one of you to, at some point in time in your training, at a regular interval, to do a deload. After that deload, I feel a lot better. I definitely, one thing to keep in mind, and this is something that I hear from my training clients a lot, is that, especially the first timers that are not used to a deload, is that when they go through the first deload, they feel like they're getting weaker. And then when they touch the weight next time, you might be set back a little bit. Some people are different, or you might actually feel a lot stronger the following week after a deload. Really, either way, there's not a right or wrong way to feel. But one thing is for sure, you definitely will be able to progress longer and without injury than somebody who doesn't take deloads. So one thing to keep in mind is if you take a deload, and I mean a deload, not a rest week, because a rest week is completely different than a deload, the two different strategies. If you just sit outside the gym for 2 weeks, absolutely, you're probably going to feel weak when you come back in the gym because your muscles are getting shocked. By taking a deload, you're actually still stimulating the muscles just enough, maybe 60, 75%. A good start is somewhere in about a 70% range for all your exercises. Main sets are most important because they're typically the heaviest, and your accessory work, I normally keep them in the same rep range, and I pretty much keep everything in the same rep range. But the number of sets, if you're doing like sets of 10, then back that way down for like sets of 3 for your deload week. And then your accessory work typically is 80% of whatever you did the previous week, or 75, 80%. And there's really no hard and fast percentage that you have to stay within. I go off of feel, and typically, I work with Josh Bryant as my coach, so we know each other very well, and he knows what I respond to. And so we've worked out something that's very unique to myself. But for most lifters, I think if you start somewhere in the 70% range for your weights, and that's everything, including your accessories, and your sets no more than like 3, because you're really going to have too much volume, and you want to back your volume down and back your weight down is the key for a deload week. But definitely eat the same amount that you normally eat, because you're going to be replacing those calories, and you want to treat your body very similar as far as the rest and recovery during a deload as you would on a regular training week. But that's about it. I'm not going to make this one super, super long. Deloads are pretty, they're not exciting, but they're definitely part of the successful training that I've had. And if I took my deloads out, I would not be where I am right now. So that's one of those necessary evils, if you will. And some people look forward to deloads, some people don't. I look forward to them, and it's kind of bittersweet because I look forward to doing a deload because I know I'm going to feel better afterwards. Especially, it's one of those things where, if you're out having a hard day and you're really just wanting to get home and get some sleep, you're looking forward to that. But you may be wanting to go out with your friends and have a social life. Well, you may not be able to do that because you're tired. So it's kind of one of those things where I really want to hit heavy weight and I get excited and I love PRs, but that necessary deload week puts me in a better position for the following weeks to do a lot better in my training. So if you take anything away from this, I definitely say that you're going to learn to be a more mature lifter, a more positive lifter. When you're actually getting beat down, that that's your body's way of telling you that not that you're not strong or that you're weak, but that you're actually at the point where you need to rest and recover, and that's fine. That's okay. Once you realize that your body's able to tell you that, you actually appreciate it because you know what your limits are. And so you push your limits a little bit, then you deload, and you come back and you smash big PRs again. And that's the cycle. That's how it happens. But to wrap this video up, we are literally at 10,000 subscribers. So I want to thank each and every one of you guys. It's very humbling that you guys are tuning in every week. And the new guys that are coming on board, I really do appreciate you guys. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Do a recap every week of my training. Sometimes I'm a little late getting it up to you guys, but I definitely cover every week, and I want to get it to you guys so you can follow along and see what we're doing on my journey to 700 pounds on a raw bench press. It's not very likely that somebody under 300 pounds is ever going to do it, and I want to be the guy to do it. So stay tuned. But if you guys are on Instagram, I am on there all the time. You can find me over there at SwimHack. And if you haven't liked this video already and like it, please do. Share with your friends. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you guys next week. I'm feeling pretty good. I think we're going to go forward. At this point, we were kind of concerned last week, with everything not really happening. But I think at this point, it's going to be a relatively smart move to go ahead and just see what we got. And, if things don't work out, then we have another plan. But we want to see, where we're going to be in, maybe 8 weeks or so. I think we're going to have to go at least one more heavy day and start feeling where we're at, and then adjust from there. But so far, tendonitis feels good. I think muscularly, I'm getting my rest and recovery. So we will see. But see you guys next week.